The fourth chapter. We're going to read from the first verse. I know everybody knows this. When you have it, do me a favor, go ahead and stand and say amen. If you don't got it, you need some more time to say, wait on me.
Wait on me.
And I'm waiting on you. I'm waiting on you. For those that are watching me via YouTube live, or we're going to be watching me later, if you have the opportunity to go ahead and stand, please stand for the reading of God's word in Matthew chapter 4, verse 1. We're going to start at verse 1. Amen. Amen. Amen all around?
Amen.
Amen. The Bible says, and we're going to read down really till I get tired, so just stay with me. I know this is a familiar set of scriptures for most of y'all, but just hang out with me. We're going to go somewhere today, all right? It says that then Jesus was led up by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, afterward he was hungry. Thank you. Now when the tempter came to him, he said, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. But he answered and said, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Then the devil took him up into the holy city, set him on the pinnacle of the temple, and said to him, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge over you, and in their hand they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. Jesus said to him, it is written again, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. Again, the devil took him up on an exceedingly high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to him, all these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship. And he said to him, all these things I will give you if you will fall down and worship. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. You shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered. Thank you for your word. God, I pray right now for your over this word, and I ask and pray that you would give to your people how you have given this to your servant. Father God, I pray you would use your servant to speak to your people and continue to download to me everything that your people need to hear from your word, so that they do not hear my voice, but that they hear your voice, God. God, I pray right now that you would speak through this man, that you would use this man, and that you would remove all glory, honor, and edification from this man, but that you, God, will receive all glory, honor, and edification. I thank you, oh God, for everything you're doing in this place today. In Jesus' name, amen. You may be seated at this time. I want to talk to you on just simply and on a short topic this morning, the cost of worship.
Right.
The cost of worship.
Good. Sounds good.
I've been thinking about this what we've been doing these past few days, and I've been really trying to figure it out and put my hand and put a finger on why God really draws you near when you are fasting. It's been really it's really been weighing on me. I was like, man, God, is there a specific reason why when people are fasting, it feels like they're closer when we're fasting than when we're just doing other things in the ministry? It just feels like God is like right there, like all the time. I mean, really it does. Like man, no. Like anytime it just feels like he's like right there. And it really has been weighing on me all this time. And finally, he said, Brian, you fasted. Let's look at a fast. And let's look at the first of the fast that you know of, where you got to experience my presence like never before. And I said, okay, well, let's look at that. I thought we was going to Daniel. Because I figured that that Daniel was the man who heard from God daily anyway. So looking at Daniel's fast would be cool. We're going to look at Daniel's fast. He said, no. I said, oh, we're going to look at Esther's fast. Because I figured that Esther's fast was something that was eloquent and simple, and it really helped the children of Israel get out of the trouble. Okay, we're going to look at eloquent and Esther's fast. It's like, no. I was like, oh, okay. Well, whose fast do we need to look at? So he said, let's go and turn over into the book of Matthew. And we're looking at this fast that Jesus has gone through. And I was like, wow, this is cool. So today, we're going to learn. And I'm going to help you understand why God, for some reason, feels like he is sitting right next to you. Even when you look over, it's your wife or your husband, your spouse, your brother, your friend, your cousin. Like, hey, you're not who I thought you were. But I know he's close. Okay? This particular set of scriptures is familiar to all of us. If you don't know this set of scriptures, it's okay. It's familiar to most of us. It's a very familiar set of scriptures. It's something that we understand, we know, we talk about, we teach, we even quote often. How Jesus had his 40, you know what? Jesus fasted for 40 days and he was tempted. Like he had the bread, said you man don't live by bread alone. He had the mountain, and the devil talking about throw yourself on the mountain. One is kind of crazy, throw yourself on the mountain, because even though God gave you, it's gonna catch you. You don't want to just throw yourself off a mountain. He may not catch you to the end, and by the time you get to the end, your heart might burst. So there's still some consequences in throwing yourself off a mountain. They just ain't smart. And then we get that, and then we have, then you gotta fall down and worship him. Nah, I can't really fall down and worship him, because the Bible says, God said in the 10 Commandments that we're not supposed to worship any other God beside him. So we all are very familiar with this text. We're familiar and how everyone has taught this text. So I want you to dump all of those teachings out your head for this moment. If you can help me out.
Right.
Because I don't want those teachings to sway you or to persuade you into believing that God cannot change something in the blink of an eye. As I was reading the scripture, I was like, wow, God, I've never seen in this scripture what I thought that I had seen before, because I had never really looked at it with the eyes of a man who had gone out to the wilderness to worship. I have never viewed this scriptural text as worship at all, because I was like, who wants to fast for 40 days and 40 nights anyway? Like, we did a 40-day Daniel fast, and it wasn't fun, not one day. We had to get creative as to what. I was so sick of eating salad. Like for 40 days, I ate salad for lunch. I was sick of salad. I was so tired of looking. If you put something green in front of me, it was going to get pushed off the table. I was so sick of it. I was so sick of peas and beans, and I was tired of fruits and vegetables. I don't want to eat an apple. I don't want to eat another piece of pineapple. I don't want to eat another cantaloupe. I want some steak and some chicken. Give me something to eat. I was so tired of that kind of fast. No one wants to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. But this fast was called because of worship. It was called because of worship. I'm not even in my notes just yet. Let me go to the notes for a minute. Hold on.
Go ahead, Pastor.
The Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke all paint a similar picture of this time. They all paint a similar picture, but they all tell the same story. They tell how Jesus, except for Mark. Mark has a blurb in there. A blurb, like two verses. of this fasting temptation in Mark. Luke and Matthew actually kind of expound and expand on what is happening. What the difference is that in the book of Matthew, we see that Jesus is tempted at the end of a fast. In the book of Luke, Luke describes Jesus being tempted throughout the fast. But with the enemy's voice being heard at the end of the fast or on the 41st day. And let me just point this out, because I love how the Bible describes the end of the fast. At the end of the fast, he was hungry. That's something brand new. Like, at the end of not eating for 40 days, you're going to be hungry. I mean, come on. Like when I woke up this morning, I was hungry. At the end of a 40-day fast?
All right.
Not on day 40 he stopped fasting. It was 40 days and 40 nights. Man, that sounds so familiar. Okay, we're not going to get into that right now. That's a whole nother sermon, a whole nother text. We're not going to do that right now. But that sounds so familiar. But it was on day 41 when he was hungry. It sounds like, and it seems like that during the course of the fast, even though there may have been times of hunger, he wasn't as hungry during the times of his fast as he was at the end of his fast. So it lets me know that during that 40-day time when he was fasting, he was okay. Like, even though it felt like he was hurting, he felt like he was probably tired. He didn't want to take a look. Let me sleep this day off. Let me just sleep this day. Let me take some time here, just take a rest. He was okay. Because his fast was not just a fast. His fast was actually his expression of worship. And I don't know about you, but when I am in the mode of worship, it doesn't matter how I feel internally. Nothing is bothering me when I'm in worship. Like when I heard the songs come on this morning for worship, and I was in the mode of worship with you. It was just like nothing else matters but the worship. Nothing else mattered. It was amazing. And this is what's even better. It's at this time. It's amazing because Jesus led into the wilderness just after we hear the voice coming from heaven to say, "This is my son in whom I am well pleased." He's led into the desert. He's pushed into the desert. And I don't see in any one of the Gospels where he went into the desert complaining. Matthew doesn't write he complained as he was going to the desert. Mark doesn't say he complained, he cried, he groaned, he moaned as he was going to. Luke doesn't say he cried, he complained, he whined, he kicked and screamed as he was being led into the wilderness. The Bible says he was led. Preach it, Timothy. The Bible said he was led
All right.
into the wilderness. The very fact that this leading came from the Spirit of God lets me know, like I said on Thursday, that we give the enemy way too much credit for some of the things that we're in. It wasn't the enemy that led him out there. The enemy didn't lead him to be tempted by himself. Okay, well, the devil's not leading you to be tempted by the devil. God led him into the wilderness to be tempted. Which tells me that the fast, the wilderness, and the temptation were pivotal in the ministry of Jesus.
Yeah.
They were all pivotal. It was a pivotal, it was a crucial, this is a crucial moment in the life of Jesus that has to happen in order for the cross to happen. Oh, yeah, let me help all my theologians out. Yes, I know everything that Jesus does points to the cross, and everything he did was a reflection of him going to the cross, even is him being led into the wilderness. Because what happened before he went to the cross? He was led up Calvary's mountain with a cross. He was led up there. He wasn't. They didn't take him up there. He was led up the mountain. Come on now.
Amen.
Like this is all starting to sound familiar to me. And he goes into the desert, and he's in the desert, and I wrote something down that you need to know, because this is very helpful for you. You need to know this. Check this out. Number one, it says there must be attentive obedience while following direction. In other words, pay attention. We are a very unique people. We are very unique individuals in the sense that we have our own sense of direction. Like if you tell me to go somewhere and you tell somebody else to go to the same place at the same time and meet there, we may take two totally different routes. Like literally, for me, I'm not just trying to find the fastest route. I'm trying to find the route that's fastest with the least amount of lights and the least amount of traffic. I'm trying to find a route that's not going to take me any extra time that I'll need to take. One, because I can't stand sitting in traffic. So I may do a whole lot of U-turns, a lot of bends, and a lot of getting around to get where I got to go. Because we are a very unique type of people. We have our own set of directions. We like to follow our own set of directions. But when God is talking, you need to pay attention, because where he's leading you is pivotal in what he's trying to give you. Where God is leading you, it is pivotal in where he's trying to take you. So you must pay attention. Therefore, there must be attentive obedience in your following of direction. It's not just being attentive to the direction. It is about the obedience in following the direction to the letter. I know we've talked about this GPS thing, and I know you heard about this GPS thing, from several other mainstream preachers. But let me help you out. The GPS is the best and the worst thing ever. It's the best and worst. One, because it tells you to go to a place, and sometimes it doesn't always know the shortest route, because it don't know about shortcuts. See, it says the shortest route is this, but there's a shortcut off a dirt road that it may not know that you always take it, and the GPS will tell you if you take that dirt road to reroute, turn around, you're off the road and go back into this on this road. God is the great GPS. He is the great guider. He is the great position. He is the great global positioner. That's what he does. The problem is we love to turn left and we learn to turn right because we know the shortcuts. We know the shortcuts. Let me talk about it. I know a lot of shortcuts. I figured I could shortcut my way through the ministry by just doing this much. And God said, if you do this much, you'll have this much anointing. You can follow me. You can have a relationship with me this much, and I'll give back to you this much in your relationship, because your relationship is not bent on how much I give you, but how much you give me.
Amen.
You can sacrifice to me this much, and this much will I repay you. Because it's this much that you really desire. Because we're used to taking our own shortcuts. We're used to taking our own. We don't like when that GPS tells us to turn left here. We know we turn left there. There's there's a rock there's a pothole in the road that we got to go around, and we're tired of going around that pothole, so we just take another street anyway because the pothole's there. So we don't want to go down that street, so we'll go up on the street, turn on the next turn, come back and catch the road again. Because we're good with taking our own shortcuts. But the cost of worship means you must be attentive and obedient to following the directions of God clearly to the letter. Jesus is led into the wilderness. He's led from point A to point B. There is no C or in between. Into the wilderness. He's led there. He's taken there to be tempted of the enemy. And here's what's crazy is at the point where the enemy believes that he is weakest is where the enemy comes to tempt him the greatest. It will never be when you're kind of at like your midway strength, your half strength, your quarter strength. It'll be when you have no strength. Yeah. It'll be when you feel like you got nothing left, no more fight, no more argue, no more stomping, no more anything left to give. When the enemy will come in to tempt you. He comes to tempt Jesus at the point where he feels like this is his weakest point. And how do we know? How do we know that he knows he thinks this is his weakest point? Because the Bible clearly says that he is hungry. Trust me, when you know, I'm only separating myself for 12 hours to fast every day. And during those 12 hours, I know that there's a point where I'm going to be able to re-nourish my body, re-strengthen my body. But I've realized that I take a little more time before I even feed my body. Because there's a point of worship that I need to get into again before I even feed myself, to make sure that God is pleased with the time that I spent in fasting throughout the day. Jesus, I believe, was getting ready to get himself into that place where he was going into worship with the Father. And here comes this old lion devil to tempt him again. And doesn't tempt him once, doesn't tempt him twice. He tempts him 3 times. Or there are 3 suggestions made to Jesus that we have recorded about the bread and the falling down off the mountain. The third one we'll talk about later. But check this out. The first and the second thing that the enemy does is question the identity of our Lord. It's the first and second thing. The first and second. You can't, one time you're going to question my identity, that's enough. You're going to come at me again and say the same thing? If you are. That is an identity question that the enemy will ask you when you are trying to go from level 1 to level 2. It's an identity question that the enemy will pose to you when he knows that there's something in you that you don't even know what's in you. It's a question that the enemy will pose to you because he knows that he knows who you really are, but you don't know who you really are. It's a question that the enemy will pose to you when you don't believe in who you are. It is the question that the enemy poses to our Lord and Savior. If you are. 2 attacks on his identity. Two attacks on the personage of Jesus Christ, who was in heaven while he was the Word, who was in heaven with God the Father. How do you know? Because the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. And then it says in verse 14 that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us.
Amen.
So I know that Jesus was there in the beginning, and I know that there was somebody in the beginning that was called the worship angel, and then got booted out of heaven. Because so if Jesus was there in the beginning, then there is a clear representation of who he is. So what you're doing is you're questioning my identity by knowing who I am and saying I'm not who I am. If you are. And I know we all, everybody's like, oh, and we have those cases of mistaken identity in the courts. Oops, got the wrong guy. Ooh, look a little bit like him. My bad. Let me let you go. That's what the courts will do, because it's a case of mistaken identity. God does not make mistakes with our identity. God created us, male and female. He did not make a mistake with your identity. He didn't create you man to be woman. He did not create you woman to be man. He created you man and woman. He didn't make a mistake with you.
Amen.
Stop believing the lie of the enemy that says he made a mistake with you.
That's right. That's good.
He didn't make a mistake.
Not do that.
Here's just, check this out. Number two, you gotta write this down because this was good to me. The only mistake with identity is outside influence. The only mistake with identity is outside influence. When we allow the enemy to influence our thinking about who we are or what we are called to be, then our identity becomes a mistake. Because then we pervert what God has put in us or who God has made us. I don't know about you, but I'm so sick of messing up what God has done in me and messing up who God has called me to be. I'm okay with being led into the wilderness. I'm okay with being led by the Spirit. I'm good. As long as the Spirit is leading me, I'm good with doing it. Because as long as the Spirit is leading me, then my identity is secure. I believe that's why God had me to wear pink, because I do not like wearing pink. And He specifically told me wear pink. And here's a lie that everybody tells you. Real men wear pink. That's a lie.
All right. All right.
And they say that to say, well, real men are secure in their identity. I don't need to wear pink to be secure in my identity.
All right.
All right.
I'm secure without pink. I don't need pink. But I believe that God had me wear pink because He needs you to know that what you are looking at is the man of God who He is called. And pink is the representation of the Father's love, which my first lady loves to say, tell me all the time, because she wants me to wear pink. But it is true. Pink is the color of a father's love. The Father loved you so much that He led you into a wilderness so that you can worship. This wilderness leading had nothing to do with the fast. The fast is the worship. Sacrifice to God. Hope this ain't too heavy for you. All of this takes place in 40 days after the voice is heard at the baptism. After Jesus is baptized, heaven's open, the dove descends, there's this glory cloud, and then the desert. 41 days after the baptism, all of this happens. Now, I wondered, I said, God, why didn't you let Jesus just bask in the exaltation of your glory for a moment when you called him your son and said, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased, and let more people experience your glory at this one moment in time that Jesus was in. But you don't allow him to rest in this glory. You don't allow him to rest in this exaltation. You don't allow him to hang out in this and these pat on the backs. You lead him directly from the exaltation into the desert. You lead him directly from being praised into worship. You see, to be praised means to be put up. To worship means to humble yourself.
That's good.
Jesus goes from being praised by God the Father to having to go and worship God the Father.
Wow, that's good.
All because this fast, this wilderness, and this temptation was pivotal in him going to the cross. And Jesus, in his great infinite, really is okay, but not being caught up in that moment. Like he's okay. He's all right not being caught up in the moment of exaltation because one, Jesus knows who he is. He's okay with not being showered with all the gifts right now because he knows that right now is just a moment in time. And this moment in time is going to end. But there is a moment that will have no end. And he's trying to get to that moment that has no end. So he's okay. We're not taking this one moment of exaltation. He's okay with the land. And he faces the wilderness. And you know how he faces the wilderness? In peace. You ever just want to be able to look at your trouble and be in peace at your trouble? Anybody besides me just want to just look at the things you're going through and just have a peace about knowing? Because you know who you are, and you know who you belong to, and you know who has separated you, and you know who has called you. You ever just want to look at your trouble and be like, I can face it. Don't spit off my back. It's not a problem for me to face this. I can do this in peace. So God put this on me, and I just really thought that this was so cool. There is a difference between isolation and being separated. There is a difference in isolation and being separated. I will say this forever and a day. Isolation is the devil. When you are isolated, it is the devil's playground. It's the devil's opportunity to bother you, to mess with you, to play with you, to toy with you, to no end. The reason why they put prisoners in the isolation shelter, one is for their own protection, two is because they're in trouble. No one likes to be in isolation. No one wants to be in the ISO unit because there's a 23-hour lockdown time. 23 hours of lockdown, 23 hours in your cell, 1 hour of fresh air. And you don't even, some prisons, you don't even fully get to come out your cell. They have an inner court where your cell is, and they lock you up in chains from you covered with your hands down to your feet, and they chain you to your waist, and you're able only to walk around this inner court that's inside your cell, but just gives you a little fresh air. And then they put you back inside your cell, take the chains off. Isolation is the devil. To be isolated means to be isolated means to be in a room of people and to be in a room of people and know that and think that nobody cares what you're going through. Nobody knows what you're going through. Nobody wants to know what you're going through. Nobody's going to ask you if you're okay. To be isolated means to be surrounded, but to be alone. Isolation is the devil. Isolation will cause people to kill themselves. Isolation will cause people to do things that they would not normally do if they knew that somebody was there with them. Isolation is a bad thing, but there is then now separation.
That's true.
You see, Jesus was not being isolated in the wilderness. He was being separated and going into the wilderness. Jesus was not isolated in the wilderness. He was just separated in the wilderness. God had to separate him from the exaltation so so that he could get him to the place where he would be humble enough, so that when he got ready to go to the cross, he would be humble enough to serve the will of God and not his own will. Jesus had to go. Jesus was separated from all the people that would pat him on the back, that would praise him, that would lift him up on high. Jesus was separated by everybody and everything that could cause him to stumble and put in the desert. He was not isolated, he was separated. Because he wasn't alone in the desert. The whole time he was there, if you look at Luke's version, Luke says the tempter was there the entire time. So it wasn't like Jesus was alone. He had somebody who we knew was there already. But even more so, Jesus was not there by himself because he was in worship with the Father. And it's one thing. It's one thing to be to know that you are separated from everything. It's the one thing to know that you're being separated. It's another thing to know that you're isolated. And you need to know the difference. You see, many of us confuse separation with isolation. You know how I know? Is many prophets feel alone.
That's good.
And they feel like they're isolated, but what they really are is they are separated. Because something happens when they talk to people that are not on their level, is that they get frustrated. Any prophets know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Something happens when they are dealing in certain situations that normally, if other people had to handle, they wouldn't be able to handle. But because they are separated and most of their time is spent with God by themselves, they're able to divinely handle those certain situations that other people cannot handle. Not because they're isolated, because they're separated. Separated. That's the reason why. That's the reason why when you talk to your friends, they don't make sense. You talk to people in business, they don't make sense. You talk to even some people at your church, and they don't make sense because God has separated you from all of that talk and all of that conversation and all that stuff that would cause them to praise you, and has put you in a place of the wilderness, not to harm you, not to kill you, but so that you will go into a deep, deep worship. I was listening to that song by Anthony, not Evans, what's his name? Anthony Nelson today. I want to go deeper. And that is literally what God is calling us to. That is literally what Jesus was doing, and he was going deeper with the Father. He sat with the Father at the right hand of the Father for eons. Eons. I don't even know how long God has been. God existed. He is never aged, he is never old, but he is the beginning and the end. So that means he's been here for a long time.
Amen.
Right.
Jesus was with the Father for eons, just in worship in his company in the heavens. Do you think something was going to change because he was on earth? That's why when he was 12 years old, Joseph and Mary couldn't find him because he was, well, they had lost him, but because he was in the house of his father worshiping his father.
Yeah.
Because just because now I'm wrapped in this human form, nothing's really going to change. I'm after worship. Because my worship creates relationship with my Father. And the deeper I go with the Father, the deeper he'll go with me.
Amen.
It is our worship. It's our worship. And each time the enemy comes against it with something different. The bread. All right, whatever. Man, don't leave my bread alone. My very word from you, my Father. Got it. The mountain. One, you crazy. I'm not throwing myself off this mountain. I'm not throwing myself off a mountain. That's just stupid. You want to tempt the Lord your God. That's just stupid. Don't do that. That's not smart. And it's fascinating. But the last temptation, according to Matthew in this last time, the last temptation according to Matthew, the second temptation according to Luke, really is where Jesus came to an exceeding exceedingly high place.
Wow.
Like he took him to the mountain and was like, pull yourself off. Mountain. That was in Jerusalem, by the way. But he takes Jesus to an exceedingly high place. Watch the camera.
Right.
To an exceedingly high place. This is the place the enemy takes him to show him all the kingdoms of this world. Okay, one, let me tell you. Mount Kilimanjaro is not high enough to see all the kingdoms of this world.
Wow.
So that means where Jesus was not on this earth. He was above this earth. Which is why the enemy stopped saying, if you are. Because his last temptation doesn't record him saying, if you are. It just said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you up really high. Really, really, really high. I want you to own the kingdoms of this world. And this is the place right here. This high place is where the enemy is after the worship of Jesus.
Oh, that's good.
The high place, the high place, the place where he can be exalted, the high place where he can be put on, where he can be praised all day long. The high place is where the enemy is after Jesus' worship. So I wrote something down for you because God said write this down, and you have to hear this. This is a warning pattern. Number 4, it says, beware of the high place.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people right now that are in positions of authority, in positions in very high positions
Preach it.
in different places, in different industries. They're in high positions, and those high positions have claimed them as victims.
All right.
Come on.
That's
Let's just be real about it. I have heard about more pastors and more praise and worship leaders being caught in adulterous affairs, some with other women, some with other men. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to break y'all heart about the church, but let me tell you something. The church ain't perfect, and the people in the church ain't perfect,
Right.
and those that serve God ain't perfect. But I am tired of hearing about all of the adulterous affairs of men of God and women of God getting caught up
All right.
because of the high place. And they'll even tell their testimony. You know what? I got so high. And I thought I could just do it. I got to a point where I felt like I was so high that no one could touch me, that I could just do it and I would never get caught. And I got caught because of the high place. It was the high place, and they began weeping and they're moaning and they're crying and they're groaning because they didn't listen, they didn't heed to the warning, they didn't see the warning in Matthew. They had taught about the warning, but they had never seen the warning. And God showed me the warning. Because there is something that God is going to create in not just me, but in all of us that is going to take us to a very high place. But He just wants us to beware of the high place. Because the high place is where the enemy is after your worship. And if he can take your worship, he can isolate you. He can separate you. He can cause people to do for you what he wants. And what he wants is for people to worship him. It costs. Your worship costs. Your worship costs. It costs a price. It costs.
Amen.
The high place is a place where the enemy is trying to steal your worship. It's a place where the enemy is trying to kill your worship. It's a place where the enemy is trying to reduce your worship to ash. It's a place where the enemy wants your work. He wants the same thing they're giving to God every day. And he's coming to take it not on the day when you just begin. He's not coming to take it on the day when you're in the middle. He's coming to take it when he believes you're at your weakest. He's coming to take you to that high place where you believe that God has, like, oh, I am finally exalted.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
I have reached the pinnacle of my success. No one that comes to me ever leaves hungry. Anyone who comes to me will be fed, and I'll give you a hug. He's coming because I'm in that high place. He's after your worship. He's after your worship. He's after your hallelujah. He's after your praise. He's after your thank you, Jesus. He's after your worship. The high places. Some of our high places may not be very high. They may not feel very high, but it's a high place. You must beware of that high place. Beware of a place where you have where you have never been, but you are taken to, not led to, taken to. Listen to me. There's a difference between led and taken. You are taken to. Jesus was led to the cross. Jesus was not taken to the cross. He was led to the cross. Jesus was led to the wilderness. Abraham was led out of his parents' home. The children of Israel were led out of Egypt. Listen to the difference in the word. He takes Jesus up to a high place. Exceedingly high place. Beware of him by trying to take you somewhere high. Beware of the high place. Doesn't mean that the high place can be all bad. It just means that the enemy's after your worship.
Yeah. Amen.
And if you get caught up in the high place, the enemy will steal your worship. You see, this is actually the same place where Jesus begins to get upset at the enemy. See, if I look at the text in Luke and I look at the text in Matthew and I listen to the text in Luke, the tempter was there the entire time, tempting Jesus the entire time, all 40 days. But all 40 days, it was kind of like he didn't really bother. Yeah, for 40 days, whatever. 41 day, 41? Okay, nah. All right, whatever, come on. Number one, well, yeah, if I am, come on, whatever, if I. Duh, you were singing praise and worship to my Father and me at the same time. Come on. If I am. You know who I am. You know my name. You say my name is Jesus. Say my name is Jesus. The enemy knew Jesus. But it seems like all these other temptations don't bother Jesus. It seems like all these other things, all the time, he's tempted him, it doesn't really faze him. But then he takes him up to this high place. And he shows him all the kingdoms of the world. One, how are you going to show Jesus something he created? And tell him that you can have all of this, which you created.
All right.
Did anybody catch that? Okay, let me do it again. You can have all this, which you created, if you would just worship me. You can have what you made if you just worship me. You see, really the enemy messed up when he brought us into the fight. Like literally, he messed up when he brought God's creation into the fight. Because there's one thing, see, as a father, it's one thing to mess with me. But you mess with one of my babies? Oh, God help me. Okay, if you punch me, it's okay. If you kick me, it's okay. Kick my baby. Kick any one of the four. You kick five. Kick any one of the five. You touch one of the five in malice. God help me.
That's right.
I believe that Jesus was looking at us the same way that a father looks at a child. You messing with my baby? Oh, you can mess with me all day long. And you can talk down to me all day long, but don't mess with my baby. Don't mess with our creation. You don't know you don't know who they belong to. You don't know who you messing with when you mess with my children. Don't mess with my children.
Right.
You see, the enemy messed up when he brought us into the fight. Every time the enemy pushed on you, put his hands on you, put his mouth on you, put his lying tongue into your brain. Every time he did that, he messed up. He made a mistake.
All right.
Amen.
He made a mistake. And he gets rebuked by Jesus. Because he brings God's creation and God's worship into the fight. There are things you don't play with in the kingdom of God. One is his creation. And two is his worship.
Hallelujah.
You don't play with his creation. You don't, no, let me help you out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know that God, that my father allowed you to tempt Job, to test Job, but you ain't gonna play with my creation. The reason why I'm down here on this earth is for this creation. You're not gonna play with them right now. You're not gonna mess with them right now. Everywhere I go. That's why when Jesus showed up, the legion of demons, it got so nervous that it tried to kill the boy before Jesus got to the land. It's why they requested to be thrown into the swine, and the swine ran over the cliff and still wound up drowning and dying. The same reason why when Jesus showed up, and he began to deliver people from demonic possession and heal people from their illnesses and their weaknesses, all stems from the enemy saying, "You look down at these kingdoms of this world. Look down. If you worship me, I'll give it to you.
Right.
You can't give me something that already belongs to me. You can't, one, you didn't take it from me. Two, you can't give back to me something that already belongs to me. I'm not coming to borrow it back, I'm just coming to take it back." You see, that was a different tone in Jesus' voice when he said that. And see, it was at that point where he rebukes Satan, and then the angels come to minister to him. Let me help you out by giving you this last one, because I believe that this is the best thing ever about worship.
Right.
Worship releases glory from heaven.
That's good.
Hallelujah.
Worship releases glory. Worship releases the angels from heaven. When we were in worship this morning, the angels were hanging down here singing with us. When you get separated and you are alone in worship, worship in your own private time, angels are hanging out with you in your house. Not angels. Because God sent angels to minister to Jesus while he was in worship. It was during his worship that the angels came down to minister to Jesus. It will be during your worship that the angels will minister to you. While you're going through your fast on these 31 days, or 40 days, or 50 days, or 365 days, the angels will come to minister to you as you worship.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Yes,
God will command his angels to check on you daily as you worship. Don't worry about your fast. Don't worry. I know it's gonna get hard, but it's okay. It's gonna feel bad, but it's okay. Because God has already sent a host of angels to minister to you on your behalf, because you are separated in worship.
Amen.
I told everybody that we are not doing this. We are not fasting. We are not fasting to lose weight, because there's a weight loss fast that everybody can take to partake of, and we lose a little weight, lose some pounds, lose some inches, get a little, make your suits feel a little bit more comfortable. We're not fasting for losing weight. We're not fasting to lose weight.
Right.
Well, take that. We are fasting to lose weight, not physical weight, though. We're fasting to lose some spiritual weight, because we're a little bit too fat. We're a little overweight in some areas that we got to get rid of some things, and it's our worship. Because don't you know, when you worship for real, you start to sweat, and anytime you start to sweat, you automatically start to lose weight. Let me help you out, okay? So when you begin to sweat, you lose weight. It's an automatic response to sweating. Your fat glands shrink and you lose weight when you worship God in spirit and in truth. Oh, by the way, the only way you can worship God in spirit and in truth is if you know the truth. Oh, but who is the truth?
Right.
Hallelujah.
Well, come on.
That's good.
Amen.
Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. The only way you can worship God in spirit and in truth is that you know Jesus. And the only way to know Jesus, you must know his
Word.
Come on.
That's good.
Amen.
Come on, come. Let me not do that again, because I don't want to hurt. I don't want to hurt my theologians' feelings, because they have got their own ideas of these things, and I'm so grateful for them. But I'm so glad that God has given to us a spirit of worship and not a spirit of fear. I'm so glad that God created this opportunity for us to worship. I know that when you call a fast at the beginning of the month, everybody's like, "Are you serious? We just got to eating Christmas dinner. We just got to have all this good stuff for New Year's, and there's something coming up in January that I want to be a part of, and I don't want to miss out." But are you serious? You want to do this during this month? Yes. Because as we worship in the beginning, God will fill the rest.
Amen.
I might just carry this on through a series. I don't know. I'm thinking about this. But as you worship in the beginning, God will fill the rest. And what will he fill the rest with? It's something he put in his word called in all these things.
Amen.
Jesus was granted all power in heaven and all power from heaven on above just by being the Son of God, but it was released onto earth below because of this moment in time.
Hallelujah.
The fast, the wilderness, and the temptation. This one moment is the reason why Jesus was able to go to the cross, even though he was battered, beaten, and bruised. He was able to go to the cross in peace. Because even though he was separated, he was never alone. The only time the Father could not look at him was when he was covered with my sin, with your sin.
Amen.
We cause Jesus to be isolated from the Father because of our sin. The only time Jesus ever experienced isolation was all because of us. And the same us he went to the cross for is the same us he decided during this last temptation that he had had enough and he wasn't going to take it no more. It was all about us. You may be at a point in time in your life where you feel like your worship is not getting you anywhere. It's okay, keep worshiping. Your 40 days ain't working. Some of us stop worshiping way too soon. Worship as long as the lights are paid, the car's paid. Worship as long as the kids are fed. Worship as long as the grass is green. Worship as long as everybody's happy. Worship as long as worship as long as we're happy. We stop worship. We stop our worship too soon. Jesus worshiped for 40 days and 40 nights. And even though he had finished his worship on those 40 days and 40 nights, he was still hungry for more worship. He was still hungry for more relationships. He was still hungry for more fellowship with the Father. He was still hungry for it. Your time in worship, your time spent in worship is okay. If you spend all day in worship, it's okay. If you spend all week in worship, it's okay. If you spend all year in worship, it's okay. If you spend the next 100 years in worship, it's okay. Because as you worship, you release a glory from heaven where the angels will come down and minister to you at the point where you feel like you are at your weakest. They will minister to you. They will love you. Let me close with this. I'm done. I have no more points to you. I have no more things to share with you. Except for this last little bit. We can go ahead and stand to our feet. We're finishing up right now. I thank you, Timothy, for showing me that there is life in the room. Because I'm glad you're talking to me, Timothy. I'm thankful, Timothy, that you were talking to me. Raina, I'm grateful that you were talking to me because you remind me that there's life in the room. Because somebody should have been like, oh my God, Pastor, preach that, oh, say that, Pastor. Worship is real. My worship will be for real. My worship will be satisfied. But that's okay because I can tell myself. God has spoken to us this morning and wants to remind us that there are several things that we do right. We do a lot of things right. We come together, fellowship, and hang out. Hey, you're doing it right. This festival, yes. Do that, my children. We come together and we pray together. Yes, do that, my children. We come together and we sing together. Yes, do that, my children. But the one thing that he really wants from us is our worship. He wants you to be separated from all of the anxieties and the things of this world, not isolated. He wants you to be separated from it. He wants you to be separated from it because he doesn't want that to distract you, derail you, or prevent you from going to the next level, from going to a place where he's called you to go. He wants you to be separated from all of that so that you can grow into the man and or woman, boy and or girl, or who he has called you to be. He wants you separated. That's the reason why when you talk to some of your friends, they don't make sense. That's the reason why when you go to places, it doesn't make sense. That's the reason why when you do things for God, it doesn't make sense. That's the reason why when God calls you to certain places, or he leads you to certain places, it doesn't make sense because he's just calling you to a deeper form of worship. Your praise is cool. Your adoration is good. Your thank yous are good. Your amens are good. He wants more of your worship. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Lord, I thank you for your words that you've spoken through your servant. I thank you for your word. I thank you for giving us the ability to see something new in your scripture. God, I ask and pray that as we worship, you will minister to each and every one of us. Father God, as we worship, as we separate ourselves from our daily responsibilities and the daily things that we go through, as we separate ourselves, I pray, God, that you would send your angels, command your angels to minister to us, oh Father God. Father, we are weak in a lot of areas. We are weak in a lot of areas, oh God. But where we are weak, you are strong. We need you, and we need you now. Because the only way we live is to worship you. We adore you, our Father, our King, our God, our Savior, our Lord. For everyone watching, for everybody listening to me, if for some reason you have never given your life, submitted your life to the Lord of Jesus Christ, that's something you want to do, whether you're listening to me in this room or you're listening to me via YouTube, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. Because we never want to leave this place without giving you that opportunity. All you have to do is just say a simple prayer with me. Say, Lord Jesus, come into my heart.
Come into my heart.
Into my life. I give you all of me.
I give you all of me.
And
I receive all of you.
I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
And I'm not worthy of forgiveness. But I believe you died on a cross, carrying my sin for me. And I believe you rose on the third day.
On the third day.
And even though I'm not worthy, you still forgave me. And I receive you as my Lord.
And I receive you.
If they prayed that simple prayer and they earnestly meant that simple prayer, God, I ask that you would visit them right where they are at. I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they are in, but I pray that you would visit them right where they are at. I pray that you would begin to heal their bodies, their minds, and their spirits. I pray that you would begin to speak new covenant into them. I pray that you would send them to a place where they can worship you in spirit and in truth. I pray that you would send them to a place where they can be discipled and that they can learn how to be called truly your child. And Father, I pray that you would minister to them in a very special way. And God, just as you have blessed our coming in, you have blessed our going out. And as you have given to us, just as we give it to you, Father, we pray that you will allow us to give you more. Not so that we can receive more in return, but so that we can see you smile on us. We thank you, we love you, we praise you. May the grace, mercy, and peace of God rest, rule, and abide in us both now and forever. God bless you all. You know what? If you are not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. And may God bless you. And look, the webpage is on the screen. God bless you.